Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy is brought to you in part by Tom's Place, the finest in men's fashion, located in Toronto at 190 Baldwin Street, in the heart of Kensington Market. Or visit toms-place.com. Celebrating 5 years. This is Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
What did Britney Spears do that was a little kooky?
Can you smell while you sleep? Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy. And this week, we scoured the internet and have been for over 5 years to bring this totally useless information just to you.
By the way, Roy does smell when he sleeps. We'll also answer your questions in the mailbag section. And in the news, this TikTok influencer was caught red-handed.
Totally useless information. It's everything you never needed to know.
From Beethoven to Bieber, rock and roll to rhythm and blues. This is Totally Useless Music Information with Nick and Roy.
And welcome once again to another episode. And did you like how I tickled those ivories there, Roy?
Yeah, I get a little nervous when you start tickling your own ivory.
But the thing is, you can never tickle yourself. Did you know that? You can never, ever tickle yourself because there's never that element of surprise.
Yeah. Except for you, though. I see that you seem to be enjoying yourself.
That's the surprise part. For over 75 countries around the world, thank you very much for joining us. We're really excited today because, once again, we're going to bring in a special guest. And this is a personal guest of mine, a very personal friend of mine, but I'm going to share him with the audience because he has a lot of history. He has been a radio disc jockey in the city of Toronto, in the Toronto area, for many, many, many years. And he's truly a veteran of the old disc jockey days, and he knows his music. And he has like thousands of pieces of CDs and thousands. He used to have a collection of thousands of vinyl albums. He knows his music, so we thought, you know what? Never mind Nick and Roy bringing useless information. Let's bring someone who knows all about music. Let's welcome to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, John Donabie.
Hey, thank you very much, Nick, for that wonderful introduction.
You know,
John, I'll be honest with you. I figure you fit the ticket because anybody that's a friend of Nick's has got to be useless.
Well, that's the way I felt when I stepped into the control room in 1995. I said, "Who is that young balding man?" And it was Irano.
Yeah, balding. I was already bald. My gosh.
Yeah, I know.
So John's career spans many, many decades, and I say this with affection. I mean, people say, "Oh my God, don't tell people how many years I've been on the radio." But he was recently inducted in the Oshawa Walk of Fame. And those of you in the audience who may not obviously be from the Toronto area, but those of you who might have heard of John Donabie, he was on Chum FM, he was on like the iconic radio stations CKEY. Now, let me ask you this: as an old disc jockey, did you ever cup your ear when you were talking on the radio? Because you see the iconic thing, you cup your ear so you can hear yourself better.
I only do that when my wife's talking to me downstairs.
I was gonna say I do that all the time when I hear Nick, but I cup both ears.
Right.
No, actually, I did not do that because I always had a good set of earphones. I invested in good earphones. In fact, you're wearing a pair that I normally would wear. But today I'm...
Yes, I am. You're right. I am wearing a pair today. It's usually not the case, but I am wearing... Oh, the headphones. Yes.
He's wearing Thursday's Hanes.
Right.
Says it right on this elastic.
I really don't know how time intensive this is, or not time, but I like to know why Nick and I are shoveling snow. And Ron, Roy, you're petting dolphins. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you know what? It doesn't have to make sense, John. I'm basking in the sun probably 8-9 months out of the year. And right now we're freezing cold down here. It was 53 last night. 53.
Oh wow.
Yes, Fahrenheit. And it was
Yeah.
It was very cold. People had snorkel jackets on, gloves, boots. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, that wasn't a dolphin he was petting. So we're talking
Oh!
about music now. John Donabie had the one of the exclusive interviews with John Lennon. Now, those of you who don't know who John Lennon is, what's the matter with you? But John Lennon was a member of the Beatles, with the original member of the Beatles, right? And and in 1973, John, you had the opportunity to talk to John Lennon. Now, the Beatles, of course, spent more than 400 weeks on the musical charts. I don't know if you knew this about John Lennon, but did you know that John Lennon's dad made a record called "That's My Life"? I don't know if John ever told you that, John Donabie.
No, I'm not familiar with
There you go. See, that's why we provide useless information. It was 1965. John Lennon's dad, Alfred, made a record called "That's My Life." How did you get that interview with John Lennon, John?
Well, it was very interesting. I went to see the legendary Rompin' Ronnie Hawkins.
What was the name of the tavern?
Oh, I knew you'd ask, Roy. Le Coq d'Or.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to grab that handle.
It was actually French, but anyway.
That's what they
I don't care what nationality it is.
Still not touching that handle.
Anyway,
So you go in.
I went in and I went up and introduced myself and said, Mr. Hawkins, I said, I just got to town. I'm working on a station up at Grenville and Young called CKFH. He calls me one day from his home and says, John, I just got off the phone with John Lennon. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, he's doing interviews for his new album, and including the hit single, Whatever Gets You Through the Night and things like that. And he's done New York, he's done Los Angeles, doesn't know who to talk to in Canada. So, you know me, John, I told him you. So I got the interview. It was a phoner. He was extremely nice. He explained how the album was done, talked about Julian a little. Julian, if I could make a quote, he said, my father was one of the most brilliant, greatest guitar players and composers of all. He was just not a very good effing dad.
Oh, boy.
As you know, it was a rough relationship. They made up later on. But anyway, so John and I he got on and we started to discuss the album. And he walked me through the whole adventure of doing this particular album. And he was very kind. He was very nice. I had heard he could be a bit of a,
Yeah.
And he could, but not with me. He was really, really nice.
I've heard reports that there was a while, of course, and understandably that you were slightly perhaps bugged about talking about those Beatlemania days, so to speak. Do you feel better about that now?
Yeah, I think at first when it happened, all of us were a bit shocked by it happening, even though it was happening to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And probably it was a scary thing. Suddenly all of us were on our own, so we all reacted in our own ways.
He talked about, and you'll hear it in the clip when I played it, where he thought he saw a UFO.
How about telling me about your flying saucer ordeal?
It wasn't an ordeal, it was a great high, actually.
Uh-huh. What happened exactly, John?
I was just standing around one evening looking out of a window, and I looked up to my left, and there about 100 foot away was this sort of thing, with a red light on top and sort of ordinary looking electric light bulbs around the bottom of it, flashing one after the other in rotation. And I'm standing there thinking, oh, it must be a helicopter. And then I realized it was making no noise, and then I thought, oh, it must be a blimp, a balloon or something. Then I realized it was too low. It was lower than the rooftops. I thought, they're not allowed to put balloons that low.
Right.
And it was really very low. I could have hit it with a stone if I'd thrown it. And then it dawned on me, well, a little voice in the back of me was saying all the time, it's a UFO. And then another voice was saying, you must be crazy, it's got to be a balloon or something. But it wasn't a balloon at all. It was just sort of coasting round very quietly, not a noise out of it. And it was going about, looked like 30 miles an hour, And it just sort of tripped around. It looked like it was on a tourist trip.
Right.
And he just tripped off down the East River and over the Brooklyn Bridge.
And I think you asked him that age-old question, will the Beatles ever get back together again?
Beatles reunion. Everybody's talking about it.
I wonder when you're going to get to that one. Try and answering that question anyway. Listen, the four of us haven't even sat in a room together for 4 years. So if you can imagine those circumstances, we don't really have a chance to discuss anything like that.
Right.
Anything's possible, but it's as I said in the Ray Coleman article, if you say it's possible, it comes out that yes, they're going to get together. If you say no, it sounds like a negative and they can't stand each other. So anything's possible. possible, and we all get on fine, and you never know, and we just haven't had time to get around to that kind of stuff.
I know that you have got some useless music information you can share with John. Maybe we'll teach John, who's been around music a long time, teach him a thing or two about useless music information.
Yeah, I don't know if you know a guy's name, Thomas Dorsey. Thomas Dorsey, in 1931, his wife passed away. He was a musician, a rather good musician, apparently. And he turned to God after his wife passed away. He then started the Dorsey House of Music, which would become the first Black-owned gospel music publishing company. And to this day now, he is known as the father of gospel, Thomas Dorsey. Yeah, I never knew this. Thomas Dorsey, the father of gospel music and the first Black-owned music publishing company.
Cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's why.
Nick, who I thought he was talking about, you'll know, the legendary Tommy Dorsey, the white band leader, and his brother Jimmy. They were really huge, big people. That's who I thought Roy was talking about, but this is new for me.
Well, that's why it's listed.
Wasn't In the Mood Tommy Dorsey?
No, that was Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller. Yeah, Tommy Dorsey did whatever the.
I remember that very well, Roy.
Yeah, well done. Roy loves to sing in the bathtub. Speaking of bathtubs,
I have a dolphin in my bathtub.
Apparently, that's right.
I pet him. Any animal with a blowhole is good for me.
Oh my God! Oh.
So an American firm wrote to the Beatles at the time and asked them if they could market the bath water that the Beatles bathed in. They wanted to sell it for $1 a bottle. The Beatles said,
how many bottles do you have, Nick?
Moving on to the next.
Apparently he hasn't used any of them.
By the way,
That's a very nice story, Nick.
The Beatles said,
so did they sell it, Nick? Do you know?
The Beatles said no.
And I know when they stayed in their hotel in New York, especially, and at the King Edward here in Toronto, people were cutting up pieces of bath towels, pillowcases, and they were selling them on the street to girls who would buy them like crazy. Beatles were not for it at all. They thought it was pretty crazy.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. Totally useless information with Nick and Roy continues. Listen, laugh, and learn.
You want to hear something cool, Nick? This was my teaser.
Right.
Britney Spears in 2007 did something that you'll be very familiar with, but you'll remember this. She shaved her head, remember?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and she had the iconic picture getting into the car with the bald shaved head, right?
Right, yeah.
She actually looked a lot like Nick. But anyway, she gets...
They all do. They all want to, yes.
So, of course, the story ran in the Inquirer as she's kooked, she's lost her mind, and blah, blah, blah. She shaved her head. Well, now we find out that the true story is she did not. She hadn't put out an album in a very long time, I guess was looking for some money, and made a deal for $500,000 with the Inquirer that she would shave her head and give them the exclusive pictures before anybody else could get a picture of her. They could take the pictures and run a story. She didn't care whether they said she was kooky. It just made her relevant again. Wow, crazy.
It is. Useless, really.
Would you shave your head, Nick? Oh, you already did.
Yeah. You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We're talking about music, allegedly. And we have a very special guest, John Donabie, a radio legend in parts of Ontario, but certainly across Canada. John, in all the years that you've done many interviews with many high-profile musicians and celebrities for that matter, who would you say is the top of the list that was the most difficult to interview, yet it was a powerhouse interview?
Oh, the most difficult interview.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. No. I was in, I worked 3 markets in Canada, Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver.
Okay.
And the Beach Boys came to Vancouver. And they told me, would you like to interview Brian Wilson and his late brother, Dennis? I said, are you kidding me? Of course I would. Mm-hmm. So in they came. Brian was Brian, meaning, a little strange. And they had a brand new album out. vinyl, of course, and I was playing different tracks, and I would ask him questions, and he'd give me a different answer for something else. So I thought, okay, this is going to be fun. And finally, at about 15 minutes into the interview, he stands up, just stands right up. He says, well, I'm done. Take care. Bye-bye. And the two of them just walked out. It was nice to meet you. The irony is, there was a station in Vancouver that was owned by Chum. They're the ones who had the rights to the concert. Well, guess what? Brian said, no, I'm not doing any more radio. He went back to the hotel. The word came back to Toronto to a certain very famous program director at Chum. He was just irate. And anyway, they never got the interview. I did. But he was difficult to talk to.
One of the timeliness of this conversation we're having with you is the fact that we are, it's the anniversary actually of John Lennon being shot. On December the 8th, 1980, he was shot. And so when we will broadcast this this podcast on radio and then on the podcast platforms, it would be 40, how many years? 44 years.
Yeah,
since he was shot and killed.
44 years.
How did you hear about the news when that happened?
My wife and I are in bed. The lights have gone off. I got a call from a guy by the name of Paul Lethbridge. He says, John, quick, turn on TV, turn on TV. John Lennon's been shot. I said, oh, you come on, Paul. Seriously, turn it on. So I turned it on, and I start watching it. Then the reporter breaks in and said, we now have confirmation that John Lennon has died. And we're on each other's phone, just gasped. Suddenly something you don't hear anymore, but it used to be very commonplace. The operator comes on, said, Mr. Donabie, you have an emergency call. Will you take this call? I said, okay, gotta go, Paul. And it was Ross Davies, who was my program director at Chum FM. John, have you heard? Yes, I have. Can you get down here right now? It was about 11 o'clock at night, 11:30. And I went down and I got on the air. Anyway, I was up about 24 hours.
Well, you were the connection to John Lennon because everyone knew, obviously, that you had interviewed him. And being on music radio for the longest time as well. We were in high school. We were in our senior year in high school when we found out.
And, was that in the Bronx?
Yeah, it was in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And Roy, I don't remember where I was when I heard, but what are your...
Probably at recess.
Probably.
I was watching TV. And the news, report came through, and I can't remember if it was John Scarborough or one of those. He was like super young, or one of those New York newscasters came on and said, there's a special report that John Lennon's been shot. And like you said, within 10 minutes, they said he's dead. He passed away, And it was a shocker. There's certain things that are shocking. Princess Diana, that's another shocker, when you heard that. And I'm not sure if it's the way it's portrayed on the media that makes it so relevant to everyone, or the fact that, John Lennon touched a lot of lives through his music. So, it's one of those things that it affects you inside. And, how many people were crying, Nick, at school? And we dedicated our yearbook to John Lennon, So, it really was a shocking moment. And maybe it was just a wake-up call to people that life is not always such a sweet thing.
John Donabie, a legendary radio jock for many, many, many years, and a good friend of mine, and a friend of Useless Information as well. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, it was a pleasure, Nick, to join you because we both started together at a certain radio station in Toronto in 1995. Roy was just a young boy at the time.
Yeah.
And Roy, it's very nice to meet you.
Thank you for that.
All we are saying is give peace a chance.
You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. And now it's time for Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy as they present Dreams. Wake up. Wake up. Dreams.
What was that?
Wake up.
All right. Researchers, Nick,
Yes.
they have found a decrease in calories. Okay, so if you decrease your daily intake of calories,
Right.
it results in fewer nocturnal ejaculations.
Oh.
Well, they say that if you take in less calories, the study proved that you have less sexual dreams,
Right.
which of course would then explain the fewer nocturnal ejaculations.
Right.
I just like saying the word ejaculation.
Yeah, you like saying the word nocturnal. Here's my teaser. So remember the cartoons? Remember when people waking up the smell of bacon, or there's a pie that's cooling off at the window, and you see like the waft of smell, like you're thinking while you're dreaming, you can smell that stuff. Remember that stuff in the cartoons?
No.
Okay. Well, for the rest of you who do, those cartoons, their nose leads them to the kitchen every time, except for Roy's house, of course. Well, the truth of the matter is, it's not realistic at all. As we sleep, stimuli such as sound, temperature, touch, and even pain become less effective as we drift further into sleep. According to a study at Brown University, they found among the 6 people they tested, 3 healthy men and 3 healthy women aged 20 to 25, so some youngins.
What, they have 50 cents for this study? They tested 6 people.
Yes, 3 men and 3 women between the age of 20 and 25.
My God.
In the lab, the sleepers were exposed to both peppermint and pyridine, a compound that carries a strong fish-like scent, and they reached neither of all of the participants.
It sounds like something we would do, Nick. It's like we want to have a study on sexual dreams. So
right.
We'd like 6 girls between the ages of 20 and 23.
Right, yeah.
And just put this lingerie on and go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information.
Attention, men. It's Black Friday, the absolute best time to restock your wardrobe. Look your best from the office, events, or nights out.
Hi, Nick and Roy for Tom's Place, and they have you covered with sharp business casuals, stylish sports jackets, and sophisticated suits or tuxedos, brand name labels for less. Along with the Black Friday sale, Tom is introducing Making the Great Canadian Suit Sale Great Again sale.
I love that. That's awesome. So unlock their door crashers. You see how I did that, Nick? Unlock the door crashers. But get ready, guys. Top designers, Ted Baker suits. I love Ted Baker suits.
Regularly $900 to $1,100. Now an incredible $500. Did you hear that? Normally $900 to $1,100. The Ted Baker suits now $500. I was talking to Tom just this morning, and I told him that you and I were going to talk about this, and told me that Ted Baker suits are made in Italy and Canada, exquisite tailoring, and of course, they can be altered to any measure that you need because they have amazing tailors at Tom's Place. Don't miss this exclusive deal.
Now, Nick, you know I have over 28 suits and suit jackets, and sport coats. And my favorites are Ted Baker. They are tailored so perfectly. And $500 for a Ted Baker suit. Anybody that's ever bought one knows you're going to pay $1,000 for that suit. But not at Tom's Place. You can also find selected dress shirts for only $60 and designer suits starting at $650. Tom's slashing them to $375. Or an amazing, get ready for this one, 3 suits for $1,000.
Wow.
You can update your wardrobe for $1,000. Plus 50% off a huge selection of sports jackets. And there's more. Prices are slashed on the whole second floor for suits, sports jackets, dress shirts, and pants.
There's a lot of information that came your way. You can find all of this at their website, Tom's website, at toms-place.com. That's toms-place.com for details and more amazing deals. Tom's Place Black Friday sale is now on 190 Baldwin Street in the heart of Kensington Market.
And that's Tom's Place. Will suit you.
We're back with totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
You know, Nick, let
Yes.
me tell you this fact. I love this one.
Okay.
In the New Testament, the entire New Testament,
Yeah.
there are 6 documented dreams.
Oh.
Okay, 2 of them, when I tell you, you're going to say, oh, wow, yeah, I knew that, but you don't really think about it as dreams. The most prevalent one is the dream where Mary is told that she is pregnant with Jesus. The angel comes to her in a dream and says, you will be pregnant with the baby Jesus. You will call him Jesus.
Right.
Okay. The next one is in a similar time frame, so to speak, but Joseph is told in a dream, get out of Nazareth and go somewhere else because you got to get this baby out of here. So these are 2, and by the way, that is not the actual version of it, but that's my version.
Right, exactly.
Get out of town, Joseph.
Get out, you loser.
But anyway, those are dreams in the Old Testament, and there are 6 dreams. I will look up the rest of them.
Okay, so how many times have you started to tell someone that you had a dream about something, and then you can't quite remember the details, right? You say, you know what, I dreamt about something, and I can't quite remember it. That happens often because really, most people have difficulty remembering their dreams because within the first 5 minutes after waking up, we forget half the dream. After 10 minutes, after you've woken up, you forget 90% of your dream. So if you don't recall right away, as soon as you wake up or write it down or use a voice recorder or whatever, that dream is gone from your memory banks.
Yeah. Which for me is good because if I remembered it, it would kind of be like incriminating to, and my wife would be like, why did you dream of Heidi Klum again?
Right, yeah.
But anyway, this one is another biblical type thing.
Yes.
But it's not, you'll understand when I explain. Egyptian people believed that they were the children of Ra, R-A, Ra.
Okay.
Ra is the sun god, mostly depicted by the eye with that little squiggly 2 lines. It looks like the pi symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. A lot of people get tattoos of that. But they believed they were the children of Ra. But they also believed that their dreams were gifts from Ra.
Oh.
So because they were the children of Ra, Ra said, go to sleep and I'll send you some messages in your sleep. So when they woke up and did something really great and cool in their dream, they said that was a gift from Ra because I'm a child of Ra.
Ra for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of children, do video games affect your child's dreams? So in general, some research has shown that some interesting parallels between videos and games and dreams. Video games allow children to have a wider imagination, which causes them to be more diverse and creative in their dreams. There's also some research showing that people who play video games very often realize that they're dreaming, so they actually are aware of it. And it also shows that they find nightmarish dreams less frightening and even more over control over themselves and the dream theme in such dreams. So in other words, if you play video games, it's going to be okay. The nightmares aren't as scary as totally useless information with Nick and Roy.
Yeah, that's scary. Good thing it's audio too and not video.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. In China, this is one of the ones you might want to jot down.
Okay.
In China is a province called Fu-Ke. So it's Fuki.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if Nick went there, I guess you could say it's called Fuk. In the province of Fuki, in the People's Republic of China, people who wanted to communicate with their loved ones would take their blankets and pillows and go sleep in the cemetery on their graves.
Wow. Morbid.
That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're walking through the cemetery and all you hear is
and you're wondering
then,
who's snoring, right? And you're wondering, oh my goodness.
You're like, what the hell's going on over there? Orange chicken.
Right. Here lies General So. Speaking of food, well, these are one great segue after another today as you're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Thanks for joining us. So does a hungry person in a dream see himself or herself in the kitchen? Hungry people are more likely to see themselves eating and drinking water in their dreams rather than seeing themselves in the kitchen. In case of hunger, both body and mind go into survival mode while you're dreaming. This is the most important factor affecting dreams. Hungry people tend to have very vivid dreams about all kinds of food.
Isn't that crazy? Like, that there was a study done where people that eat late, they have bad dreams, horror dreams.
Right.
And you ever notice in the Dickens book, The Christmas Carol, Ebenezer says to the one ghost, "This is not real. This is that piece of cheese that I ate."
Oh.
Yeah, which explains the dream, the horrible dream.
Awesome. Hey, check out our website, nickandroy.com. Why? Well, first of all, you can check out the library of our episodes from the past 5 years. Also, if you go to the Nick and Roy store, you can order your loved one a very special birthday message.
Oh, yeah. Listen, guys, honestly, the birthday message is probably the best gift that you will ever give to someone. And I mean that sincerely. Go to nickandroy.com, go to the Nick and Roy store, tap on it. You're going to hear a sample of our birthday messages. We do birthday messages, holiday messages. Go to nickandroy.com because I'm telling you right now, if you want to give somebody a gift that they're going to rave about and say, "Oh my God, they gave me this gift. It was it's the birthday message from nickandroy.com. Go to nickandroy.com.
I just had an email from someone. We just did a birthday message for someone who's about to celebrate the birthday this weekend that this broadcast is going to air. And so what I do is once we produce the show, we send a preview of the birthday message to the person who ordered it. And this is the email I got back. She goes, "Hi there. I just listened to it. It is," and in all caps, "fantastic. He's going to love it. Thank you very much." And what it is we do like a mini show about the day that they were born. So go to nickandroy.com, the Nick and Roy store, and order yours today at nickandroy.com.
Wall Street, Bay Street, NASDAQ, Hang Seng, loonies, toonies, dollars, and yens. This is On the Money with Nick and Roy.
We've all played Monopoly. You've played Monopoly. I think people are still playing the same game of Monopoly since they were 15. It's so long.
Yeah, I also lived on Park Avenue at one time.
That's right, you did. That's right. You did. Hasbro states that 250 million copies of Monopoly have been sold since 1935. 250 million copies and counting, probably.
Wow.
In 103 countries and 37 languages. They've sold an average of 3.3 million copies of Monopoly per year. And if you use the current edition, that would mean they would print $67.7 billion during an average year. That's how much money, Monopoly money, that they're printing. $67.7 billion. And Hasbro franchise brands, which includes Monopoly products, made $2.8 billion of real money in 2022.
Well, you know what? That's great because maybe Canada can get them to buy your country and straighten all the debt out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. There was...
Hey, listen, I'm not one to talk. What do we got? 60 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay, get your pencils ready. The coin gets its name from the Latin word cunes, or Latin for wedge.
Oh, okay.
Now, why you say wedge, right?
Yeah.
Because the die that they use to stamp the coin because they used hammers to stamp the coin, it was shaped like a wedge so that the hammer would have a larger portion to hit.
Yep.
And so they called them Kunis.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Why do coins smell the way that they do? So when human
They've been in your pocket.
Well, that's partially the answer. When human hands handle rare coins and other objects made of metal, the human body generates an iron-like smell. The human body odor is caused by the breakdown of skin oils after touching objects made of certain metals. So that chemical reaction that happens. When hands touch iron, for example, perspiration on the skin adds 2 electrons to the iron atom. So this is getting really scientific. You touch the stuff and your oils...
Wake me up when you're done.
Okay. So, I love the smell of coins in the morning. It then reacts to this what it does is it reacts with skin oils and then decomposes. Fun time. The decomposition creates, just like this topic, the decomposition creates an organic molecule known as, write this one down, 1-octan-31. Got it?
1-octan-31.
That's right. And that's largely responsible for that infamous smell.
This sounds really disgusting and bad. So here's what I want everyone to do.
Right.
Take all of your change, place it into an envelope, and go to nickandroy.com.
No.
Send us all your money.
No.
Because it stinks.
No.
And you need to get rid of it right away.
Yeah,
Don't even think about it.
Yeah, you know what also stinks is the jail cell we'll be sitting in if people don't do that.
Yeah, and send it to qnoctane.3-1.
Go to nickandroy.com, go to the Nick and Roy store to order the birthday messages. Do not send your smelly coins to us. Thank you.
What's in the mailbag? What's in the mail?
That's one of my favorites, too, by the way, in the jingles and intros that we do. That was one of the original ones, because when we put the show together 5 years ago, we talked about a couple of topics to choose from, and then Roy came up with the science jingle and animals, and then we said we need a mailbag, and so Roy put together and sang that jingle. So well done.
That's funny. That's funny because my mailbag has something to do with that. But go ahead.
Really? Oh wow. Okay. So let's wait.
Yeah.
Let's wait. Let me do mine first, and then what a tease.
Yeah, you do yours first.
Sarah from Wilmington, North Carolina writes, "Dear Nick and Roy, we love listening to your show. I was wondering if you could help me with something." Oh boy, here's trouble. I saw a picture of a St. Bernard dog and wondered if they really wore a small keg around their necks. Okay. We look forward to hearing your answer. Keep up the great work and happy 5th anniversary. Oh, thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for your kind words. Well, as a matter of fact, around 1049 AD, on my second birthday, the only thoroughfare, a dangerous one, mind you, it was a snowy one. It was between the Great St. Bernard Pass, which is between Italy and Switzerland in the Alps. That's what it was called, the Great St. Bernard Pass. The dogs accompanied the monks on search patrols throughout the pass. The dogs could ably detect avalanches in advance, had a terrific sense of smell, and succeeded in finding people buried in the snow. Over the years, though, their role turned into one of search and rescue, and the dogs were often sent in groups to search the pass when the weather was too inclement for the monks to go. So the monks are like, we ain't going, so they sent the dogs there.
Mm-hmm.
Records indicate that the monks may have tried to replenish the line with other types of dogs because eventually the dogs did perish. So they came up with Newfoundland's type of dog, which rescue efforts continued in the pass. Once a trapped traveler was found during a rescue mission, one dog would lie on the person to keep them warm, while another went back to the monastery to get help. So the theory that enters here is that the dogs wore small kegs on their collars that held brandy or wine for the travelers to drink to keep them warm.
Stevie G from Chicago, or Chicago, whichever.
Yeah.
He says, I'm so impressed by your show. The topics are great. Mm-hmm. I have listened to almost half of your shows. So we're up to what, 200 and what?
Oh, coming up on 230 episodes.
Yeah, so this guy's listened to over 100 episodes already. So he's pretty good with the show. But he says, I'm an extremely religious person. And he says, could you do a topic on religion?
Oh, okay.
Isn't that great?
It is.
I think that's a good topic. I think that's one we could explore. And I said to myself immediately while I was reading it, I could just picture the jingle going, Dominoes, Dominoes, Deo.
Totally useless information.
Yeah, there you go. I see how it works, folks. Me and Nick, we're just simpatico.
Yes,
you know,
we are.
which is another dirty word for a dirty old man.
No. It's simpleton. What you meant to say was simpletons.
Vaticans.
Today on the show, we talked about music with John Donabie. We talked about dreams. We talked about money. It's time for the news.
And now, from around the corner and around the world, this is TUI News.
A popular TikTok influencer allegedly filmed herself shoplifting. Okay? This was by the way, in Cape Coral, Florida, where all the wonderful citizens.
That's really close to where I am, you know.
So this influencer, well, she filmed herself shoplifting $500 worth of goods from a Target and posed the evidence on the internet. Okay.
Ooh. So she targeted Target.
Right, and then she targeted herself.
So she videotaped herself stealing $500 worth of merchandise.
That's right. And then,
which won't get you any jail time in Los Angeles, but that's another story.
So a loss prevention employee at a Target in Cape Coral, Florida, right where near Roy lives, apparently, alerted police, and they saw a woman pile, actually it was $500.32 worth of items into her shopping cart. Once at the self-checkout register...
Don't forget the 32 smelly cents, but go ahead.
That's right, yes. I knew I smelled something. Once at the self-checkout register, the female suspect did not scan the item's barcodes, instead scanning a false barcode with cheaper prices. So she had this all planned out.
Yes.
16 items in total were stolen. An anonymous caller saw the post on social media and gave a possible identification from the suspect as Marlena Velez. So here's this person who sees this post on social media and goes, I know her, and she turned herself in, I guess. Or she turned her in. The anonymous caller also provided...
So she got away with the theft.
She did, until this anonymous caller provided the officers with Marlena's Instagram handle.
Okay, here's my way of thinking about this, Nick.
Yes.
If you have self-checkouts, that means at that particular time that I'm checking the stuff out, I am now an employee of the store.
Right.
And if I wish to give myself a price break or a discount,
right,
I will do so because I'm on the clock.
That's right.
So anytime you go to a self-checkout lane, and let's say you have 10 items and you only ring up 5,
right,
that's a 50% discount.
Okay. We are not condoning on Totally Uses Information with Nick and Roy that you steal anything. You pay for everything.
I'm not condoning it.
Right.
I'm explaining what some people do, which is wrong.
Right.
It's totally wrong.
Right. That's all the time we have for this episode of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We will scour the internet and other sources to find out totally useless information just for you.
Until then, go to our website. There's all kinds of fun stuff, back episodes, Nick and Roy store with some interesting stuff.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy.
Thanks for listening.
Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy has been brought to you in part by Tom's Place, the finest in men's fashion. Located in Toronto at 190 Baldwin Street in the heart of Kensington Market. Or visit toms-place.com.